Adlib is the smartest way to activate programmatic, built for expert traders yet easy enough for any marketer. Launch across all top DSPs without contracts, overhead, or busy work. Schedule a free trial today and start maximizing ROAS with Adlib. Check out Adlib at getadlib.com.
Good morning, Joe, or good afternoon, Joe. Welcome to Open Market, a podcast about building companies in the advertising industry.
Was that the first time you've said welcome to Open Market?
I know, I was waiting for you to say it. I'm Eric Franchi. This is Joe Zappa. We do this every week. And welcome, everybody. So this is a two of us episode, a duopoly episode, a duo episode.
Who's Google and who's Meta?
I guess I'm Google.
Yeah.
Again, the kid just walks right into him. So we had two topics today, both related to AI. It's on our mind. It's on everybody's mind these days. And I figured it'd be interesting to dive into it. First, I'll go first. So it's, as we record this, it's May 29th, 2025. It's intern season. So at the time of the year where college students, undergrads, I guess, and grads, they look for and start internships in sometimes the fields of their choice or fields that they're exploring. It's always something we did at Undertone. We're experimenting with it at Imperium. It's awesome to see the next generation, kind of leaned in and having some of that youthful energy around the office. Now, juxtapose that with something that the CEO of Anthropic said this week. He said that he believes that AI could wipe out 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to up to 20% at some point in the next 1 to 5 years. So that's jarring. That's jarring for everybody. But the thing that I wanted to talk about is this 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs, because I go straight to the interns, and I go straight to all of the interns or graduating seniors that are looking for jobs. And, will this have impact? Entry-level jobs in advertising have been a particularly good training ground. And basically every leader that I know, but for a few that, kind of were entrepreneurs from day one, came up through the ranks of like media planner or ad ops or customer success, because you learn a lot, you build a network, you build skills, you understand how the guts of this work. So if these are automated away, like where are the leaders of our industry going to come from? So I'll stop there. Give me your reaction to that.
Yeah, I'm sort of of two minds on this. Mainly, I'm bullish on AI's disruption. I tend to buy the hype from, the Anthropic CEO. And he said, like, and as Axios reported it, there's kind of this funny dynamic where, like, CEOs are saying, this is going to have a really, like, tremendous impact on the economy, and part of it will be bad, and you should probably be preparing for that. And it's almost like the average person and politicians are like, I don't know. I don't really think so. And I think there's a weird gap that a lot of people outside tech can't even begin to grasp, which is like all of us are using AI constantly. Like 90% of people probably still aren't using it very much, or they're just using it like a better Google search. So I think like the average person will really struggle to catch up to this. So I think it is simultaneously true that it will have a transformational impact. And then also it's true that a lot of people and a lot of companies will drag their heels on catching up to this because they may not be using it as much as some early adopters are.
The question that I'm asking myself a lot is, we believe there's a lot of disruption ahead. We believe that, there's the Anthropic base case, which is like 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs get wiped out. The question is, do those 50% of entry-level jobs get wiped out and there's like, a structural thing that is long-term? Or is it like other revolutions that we've seen, Industrial Revolution, horse to car, all of that stuff, where, new jobs emerge that we can't even, imagine today? So as a thought exercise, basically what I did was I put pen to paper and thinking about, okay, if some of the things that these entry-level jobs, are for, right? Planning, ops, customer success, reports, everything like that. Like, what might the entry-level or entry-level and above roles look like in the future? So I'll round through some of the stuff that I put down on paper. You give me your reaction, whether or not I'm like completely off on this stuff or, living in the clouds, rose-colored glasses, or there's something here. So, kind of thought one is taste and judgment becomes a differentiator. We've talked about this in the past, but it's like, if AI can plan and optimize, the value might shift to those who like curate it, challenge it, guide the AI, right? So like taste and judgment becomes super important. Number two, people that can be market facing and almost like the client whisperer, they can rise, right? Because at the end of the day, it's called programmatic buying, but it's really like media selling, right? Like humans, they want to be sold, reassured, advised, right? So like roles that
Yeah.
blend both EQ and AI almost will matter more.
I'll stop you there because I think those are both really on point. So first, in terms of taste and judgment, obviously taste has become a Silicon Valley term for a type of discernment that will become a lot more valuable in the AI era. And I see this every day with marketing content. Every single ad tech company is using AI to create marketing content now, either because it's a directive coming from on high or because people are just using it. And you will not be surprised, Eric, to hear that my professional opinion is a lot of it sucks, right? Like, every day I see something that I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like you just like you put it into ChatGPT with like very little prompting and then you copied and pasted it with no editing. And sometimes I think this stuff can be like really ugly. Like I'm talking CEOs who like there's like when the WPP layoffs happened, I saw some people who had clearly just like gone to ChatGPT and been like, WPP like laid off all of these people. What should I say about it? And just like copied and pasted it. It was like an unoriginal POV. It had like all the signs that you had just copied and pasted from ChatGPT, like the M dashes and the not just this but that and like all the things. And I was like, this is not just bad. It's like this is actually doing damage to the person who's trying to create value through marketing. So taste, I completely agree. And I think we're starting to see this in very concrete ways, is becoming more important. And what that means from like, I'll use marketing as an example, but it applies to a lot of different functions. You just need fewer people, but those people, like their discernment is critical. And you can expect more productivity out of them. So I think it's just like, the way I view it is in W2 jobs, income is too evenly distributed, right? Like if you have a marketing team and you have 10 people, you're probably paying them all like relatively similar salaries when like two of those people might be like actually 10x more productive than the other eight. And I think AI is just going to exacerbate that gap. And you want to find those people who really do have a like fine discernment and are very productive, and you want to unleash them and say, okay, you're now, you're going to do the job of five people and we're going to pay you accordingly. We might not pay you literally 5x, but we're going to pay you a lot more than you would have made in recognition that you're going to be 5 or 10x as productive. So taste definitely more important. Then like client whispers, I think this will be very interesting in ad tech because we tend to have really long, complex enterprise type deal cycles. And so like the salesperson who still has a lot of human relationships and can sort of navigate the intricacies of those conversations will be equally important, if not more important in the AI era. Whereas if you're selling like very simple SaaS software, like if you're selling Asana or whatever, you already don't really need salespeople for most of those deals. And in the AI era, you'll need them even less because you'll have AI agents, not just like old school chatbots who can really get into the intricacies and sell self-serve software.
I had two other ideas on the kind of taste, judgment, and creative front. Speaking of WPP, they rebranded Group M to WPP Media this week. Big announcement. They actually launched a B2B ad campaign, and they did this video. It's like a 2-minute video. Did you watch the video?
I haven't seen it.
It was good. It was like a good use of AI. It was like a good use of the, like VO3, all of these new tools, right? So it's like, if now all of these tools are widely available, there's a lot of stuff that sucks. How do you do good work, right? So prompt engineer, brand voice calibrator, so you don't sound like just the same slop with M dashes, a narrative designer, right? It's like it expands the creative capacity infinitely, but someone has to direct it to like make it good. And then the other thing, more on the operational side, and this might be like where ad ops goes, right? So today you might manage campaigns, you might manage accounts. So if those are being managed, end to end via agents and AI workflows, like is the future of operations managing the fleets of agents? And this is all kind of theoretical, kind of having fun with this stuff, but just in the thought exercise, you might imagine like, okay, these jobs go away. All of this, capacity starts to increase, the capabilities increase. Who is sitting on top of this and what might those jobs look like in the future?
Yeah, for sure. You have another one here that I think is great, which is founder by force, not by choice. So without the traditional ladder, more talent may just skip the rungs and build things. I think this is why you see also the skipping college conversation and the high agency conversation in Silicon Valley circles, right? Because I mean, that's always been part of the Silicon Valley discourse. There's like a great joke, and I think one of the first couple episodes of the HBO parody Silicon Valley about Silicon Valley billionaires hating college, but it's becoming more prevalent again because we are seeing that with AI, people who are very determined, who are self starters, and who are creative are able to create a tremendous amount of value without going through the typical lanes, whether that's college or like working for a big corporation in a junior role first. So I do think that will continue to take off. And for the record, I see it, for example, in marketing. Like I think with remote work was the first thing. And now, especially with AI, a single marketer can just be so productive on behalf of a bunch of clients that for the best people, it's becoming less and less attractive to go take an in-house job as, SVP of marketing or whatever at some big company. And instead they want to go off and be an entrepreneur and do their own thing. So I think we're definitely the AI era is also an era of solopreneurs.
Yeah, exactly. So thought exercise. Who knows what this does look like at the, on the other side of it. And, hopefully the disruption isn't too disruptive to the workforce. But I think just a glimmer of line of sight of what the future might look like. And, I think that the jobs of the future might be super interesting. That was my thanks for this week. What you got, Jeff?
I've been thinking about romanticizing the open web, and I actually thought about this over the weekend when I was Memorial Day. I was sitting in a coffee shop reading Ben Thompson's Stratechery piece about the future of the open web and micropayments and whatnot, which we talked about on last week's pod. And it led me to think about the way that a lot of people in the ad tech and media ecosystem talk about the open web, which again, I would describe as romantic. They say like basically the open web is this treasure and compared to the trash of the walled gardens and whatnot. And I think this is worth interrogating in a couple ways. The first question is like, what is really premium content? When Jeff Green was at DMS by Luma, he was talking about the open internet as what should be the number one environment for advertiser investment in large part because it has supposedly the best content. And he was basically like, the open internet is all the best TV and movies ever created versus the cat videos of the walled gardens, which is like, I get what he's getting at there, but I actually think a lot of people in the open web really do speak this way. And you actually need to interrogate that dynamic because it's not really true. Right. And even Terry kind of said that on stage with Jeff. Like, yes, it's true. You have professional journalistic content and you have TV and movies on what we might call the open internet, but you increasingly have on the walled gardens as well, right? You have with like Amazon's purchase of MGM and the Thursday Night Football rights and YouTube TV, you have in the walled gardens of the big tech platforms a lot of really high value content, whether it's live sports or, cinematic IP. And you also have creators on those platforms, right? And in many ways, I think those people, like a Mr. Beast, say, who, primarily produces his content for YouTube, those people, I think, represent the future of premium content, especially in the eyes of the younger consumers who flock to their stuff and who increasingly are skeptical of the value of the old institutions, whether it's a Hollywood movie studio, right, with young people not going to the movies, or with journalistic institutions with them, getting their news from social or from creators instead of the New York Times. So I think like when we talk about the open web and its quality and premium, we need to start to be more realistic about the state of that at present and what consumers value because consumers are ultimately the people we're reaching.
You have another interesting point, and this might be just like, didn't even make the notes because it just happened. So Business Insider, I don't know if it's like laid off, they fired 21% of their workforce. And they cited two things that I thought were like, very telling here. There's number one, businesses that are built on traffic are extremely subject to the changes in traffic. And then number two, they need to prepare for like an AI first future. And I think, again, this was just recently, but you said something to the effect of, people think about the open web and they cast a very wide net. And then the open web, it came from the days where it was like the text-based internet. And it was, largely the traditional publishers, print, magazine, like all of the information that used to be on paper, it made its way into the internet. This was like pre-video and pre-social, everything like that. And, to your point, that is just changing so quickly. And it's super hard, particularly in the age of AI, with people looking for answers and not reaching sites to further find the answers. They get it via LLMs. The open web, the text-based open web, feels like, it's increasingly becoming a relic and super subject to like really violent contractions, to use a really
Yeah.
poor term.
Yeah, so think about it this way. Like every open internet ad tech company on some level needs to make the case for the open internet vis-a-vis the walled gardens, right? That is like the big war that we're all fighting unless you play on both sides of that fence. So then you have to think about, okay, what is the open internet really like? What are we arguing on behalf of? What are our real advantages? What are our liabilities, right? You need to be clear-eyed about that. The first thing I'm saying is you need to think about what consumers really care about today. They're voting with their attention and their wallets. Where are their eyeballs and whom do they trust? And I'm saying the first thing you have to reckon with is you can no longer draw a clear distinction where it's like the open internet is this highbrow professional thing and then like YouTube is cat videos. Like that dynamic is being upset. It may even be starting to reverse, right? So you need to take that seriously.
YouTube is number one. It's the number one like app or channel, however you define it, on CTV. It's already won. It's not cat videos.
Right, exactly. So that's the first thing. You need to take seriously what kind of content you're offering and what really is premium in the eyes of consumers, who are the people we ultimately want to help advertisers reach. Second thing is when we talk about the open web, what part of this like open web slash open internet ecosystem are we really talking about? And what I'm positing is, and these words can mean anything. I'm not really interested in the semantics of like what does web really mean and what does internet really mean. We just need two different concepts here. One is sometimes when we talk about the open web, as you said, we're talking about publisher display websites, right? We're talking about like you go to NewYorkTimes.com and you see the text website. And that is contracting. There's no way around that, right? Like there will be individual winners, like the New York Times, for example, might be a winner. They have a huge advantage, consumer trust, deep pockets, etc. But overall, that sector of the open internet is in decline, and search and social have been killing it for years, and AI is only going to make it worse. Okay. But the open internet, as like Jeff Green was using it, for example, also refers to CTV, audio, DOOH, right? You could make the argument that it's a broader ecosystem of digital, right? Maybe we just call it digital, that transcends these websites that are going to get killed by AI and by agents. And so it's not that the open web will go away entirely, but there's a reason that every ad tech company and its mom has been moving towards CTV for the last few years. It's like that's where the future is. That's where audiences are still growing. That's where you can have really high impact ad formats. And so I think if you're looking at this ecosystem, whether you're an investor or an entrepreneur, you already have an ad tech company that you're trying to market and position, you want to think about those different sectors. And like, quite frankly, you don't want to get pigeonholed as being an open web company. I was talking to, if by open web we mean those websites, I was talking to a CEO who I think importantly is not a founder last week. And I say importantly not a founder because I think he's very unsentimental about the open web, right? This is a guy, he's like, we've got to grow this business, whatever that means. And like I told him, when you read the website at present, it reads like this is an open web ad tech company. And he was like, yes, I like 100% agree. That is a problem. Like we're monetizing media, whatever that means. And that could mean traditional open web. It could mean in social content. It could mean delivered via agents, like however media is delivered and wherever it is, we want to be part of maximizing its value, but we don't want to be restricted to those publisher websites. I'll say one last thing. The third component of this equation, I think, is what do advertisers care about? And there I'm going to beat my normal drum of, outcomes era. Like advertisers don't care for the most part about all of the sort of ad tech and media hand wringing over like what is quality and what is open web versus isn't, in this moral argument for like we all need to have a stake in saving journalism and whatever. Like they want outcomes. They want to sell more shit. They'll do that wherever it's easy and efficient and measurable, and where, the CMO can go to the CFO and say, it's working, we're driving more sales, and the CFO can be confident that they're right. And so I think those are the three things to consider if you're an ad tech CEO thinking about how to position in this era as the open web evolves is what do consumers care about? What do advertisers care about? And then what part of the open internet do you represent, and which parts are growing, and how can you move in the right direction?
Yeah, this is where I give Jeff Green from TTD and Mark Zagorski from DV a lot of credit, because they're, I think, very nicely straddling the line between wanting to deliver a positive message about the open web, wanting to, like help sustain and build journalism, media, so on and so forth. But like they're very focused on building the credibility of that category via showing how it performs. And this is particularly with Double Verify. Like they've got an ex-journalist, Jack Marshall, I believe he's still there. He like owns this initiative, and Double Verify is like very focused on being an outcomes-driven company in their messaging and their acquisitions, everything like that. So
Well, and
I
that's
think it's
why they bought Sybits, right? Is to move in the
exactly.
performance direction.
Yeah, exactly. Sybits and Rockerbots, right? Be able to
Hmm.
understand and prove the value of some of this stuff. So yeah, it's just like AI. It's like we're just in this like really, really messy middle. And frankly, it's probably largely because of AI and because of the way the consumer is shifting. And it's like so much needs to happen to get to the other side of this. And it's a messy middle.
Yeah, I think the path to monetizing the open internet goes through that understanding of where consumers gravitating, whom do they trust, to whom are they paying attention, and then how do you use that valuable content audience attention to drive outcomes for advertisers. I think it's, no surprise that therefore you see so many ad tech companies like TTD, Viant, et cetera, moving toward CTV and audio. And it's no surprise that you see verification companies moving toward performance and outcomes.
Yeah, no, it all comes together nicely. All right, cool. Two meaty topics we did justice to.
Yep. Teed them up, knocked them down.
All right, listeners, as always, thank you. And yell at us wherever you get your podcasts.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the platforms, open internet, not open internet. We don't give a shit. We're making money either way. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye, everybody.